Hi, glad you could join us. I'm Annette Sherman. This is Community. I'm going to say a name, it's this three-part name that probably you've not heard of, but you probably will hear of it in the future, in the near future. Let me introduce my very special, lovely guest. Her name is Catherine Michelle Tanner. And Catherine Michelle, people just call you Catherine or Kathy or what?
They do. They usually call me just Catherine.
Catherine, okay, that would stand to reason. Catherine is a multi-talented young lady, and talking about her, she is an actress, a singer, a writer, a director, composer, and a choreographer, and she's originally from Hastings, Minnesota. A very busy young lady. You may have seen an article about her in our Sarasota Herald Tribune. It was by my friend Jay Handelman. And they did a very interesting article that piqued my interest and the interest of my associate producer. So we called Catherine and asked her if she was free to come on the program, and she said she'd love to. So here she is. But we've got a problem. And it's not an insurmountable problem, but it's almost insurmountable. She is just recovering from a cold and has an occasional cough and a clearing of her throat. In other words, her singing is not going to be, it's not going to be a good time for her to sing. So she has brought along a recording that we'll play, about a minute of, and you could hear her lovely voice. Maybe she can remember some part that she played and give us a little excerpt of your dramatic skills. And we'll play with that as we move along. Okay, let's talk about your family, and because I think it's an interesting aspect of your career and of your activities now, that your mom and your dad both really were performers.
They were. My father was a visual artist. He did oil painting and raku pottery. And my mother had been an actress and also a teacher. And he met her by seeing her in a play that he really loved. And then he painted her a painting. It's just this extremely romantic story. But I do come from a long line of actors on that side and a long line of artists and singers on my father's side.
Well, that's encouraging, but it's also a little difficult to live up to if they're anticipating, and well, you obviously love what you're doing, and if it isn't writing, it's producing. If it isn't producing, it's singing, and so it's not something that is a trial or is a difficult thing for you to do. But the success in your field, I think you feel responsible to come up with some extraordinary success.
That's a really good point, because I think success and the goals that you want to achieve as an artist are always changing. I think that once you reach a certain point, it's good to set your sights on something else. And for me, it always comes down to great storytelling. If the story isn't there, you can't make a really great piece of art out of it.
You refer to yourself or refer to acting as that's the one thing that is number one.
It is. It always comes down to that. Even if I'm singing, I'm really acting through a song. Even if I'm directing, I'm really finding my way through that story as a director. It all comes down to that moment to moment and
But
telling.
you write plays.
I do.
And what else do you do?
I also compose music. I'm working on a new ballet, a Thumbelina, so.
Tell me how you typically compose the music. In other words, how do you do it? Do you play with an instrument? Do you on a piano?
Yes, mainly a piano. I'll start with a hook. I'll sing through a hook like a refrain. And then from there, I'll take it into the verses, and then I'll switch up the verses and make sure that I found something really solid and different. I like to keep things different.
Okay, you write a song. What do you do with it?
Well, depending on what the song is for. If the song is for my album, I'll go and record it and work through some editing with that. There's a studio that I use over on Siesta Key. I also have a very small studio of my own. But if it's part of a
It's
musical,
a very small studio.
yeah, it's very small, this big. When I'm working on a show for a musical, you throw the song in, you workshop the musical. It's important to workshop the musical before it gets published or before it gets seen. And then you see, is this music telling and advancing the story, or is it just wrapping up the story? You really want to make sure that it's moving that story forward.
I think that it's one of the most difficult things to sell is the song, music.
Yeah, it's completely changed. In fact, this album I recorded 4 years ago for the holidays, and just now we were able to launch it on Amazon, Apple Music, iTunes.
Why do you think that was the case?
I think the whole music industry has changed. You know, not everyone has CDs anymore or CD players. They all have MP3. You can download it and stream it. It really makes it easier, but for a certain demographic.
Well, don't get too used to it because it doesn't
gonna
last very long.
Yeah.
I don't mean that your material doesn't last very long, but
The way we get it.
the mode of appreciating and listening to it, watching it.
Constant change.
Yeah, it's constantly changing, and it's very annoying to me because you just about get to the point when you have all of the CDs that you want.
Absolutely.
And they're no more, don't use them anymore. Nobody uses them anymore.
I know.
Oh, well.
It's crazy.
Okay, so suffice to say you are one busy lady.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
what is, I think you've said that acting seems to be your favorite thing, the number one thing.
It is. I'm constantly looking for new roles and new challenges, both on film, on stage. It's a really exciting place to be
Do
at.
you go to auditions?
Absolutely. I go on auditions quite a bit. I also work with some agencies that send me out for film auditions, and that's changed a little bit too. The film auditions come to you, you can record it, you can send it back off. You don't always have to be in the room with the producers.
All right.
In fact,
Okay.
I'll be heading to Atlanta in January to work on a film and a musical there. So it'll be a nice new market.
Where does film, or if I were to be your fairy godmother
Yes.
and say, I can grant you
A
a wish. Okay. Having to do with your profession, having to do with what you want to do, your ambition, what would it be?
Gosh, that's a great question. I think right now I'm very interested in really good quality, what we call television, which is also so changed. I think that some of the greatest writing is happening in either small independent films or television, which you can stay with something for 6 years. Things like Handmaid's Tale, Netflix, Hulu, certain things like that have some really great material. And I think that really interests me. I loved Mad Men.
Now this is you don't have to be realistic with this because I can't make the dream come true.
Well,
I mean
you
I
never
don't want to
never know.
disappoint you, but it's not really your fairy godmother.
Bippity boppity boo, right?
Well,
that's how
so
it
but
happens.
the number one wish, in other words, that all I have to do is say, well, that's what you want, and I wave my wand.
I think that would be it. And I think I would like to have some creative control in producing that TV series. I think there's a story that I'm working on that I think would really, really have longevity for those 6 years. Some really great characters based in Minnesota. So I think that would definitely be my dream.
There's so much more to writing a show and so much more profit for you.
There is. And it's interesting, when you get in the writing room as an actor, you want to feel out the moments, and as a writer, you have to kind of work out the moments with the actors. So I think a lot like Sarah Jessica Parker, a lot like people who write and produce, Bradley Cooper just did A Star is Born, the remake. I think it's so interesting to have your fingers in both pots. I think it's really intelligent, it's really smart, and it's also very ambitious.
Do you have any time for your private life?
I do. I always try to carve out some personal time. I like to horseback ride. That's a huge part of my childhood and my current life. I really love taking ballet classes and yoga classes and traveling. I just flew in yesterday from New York. So traveling is a big part of my life as well.
Well, if you're traveling and if you're moving and if you're studying roles and preparing music, you don't have too much time to date.
Well, I'm good. I've been with someone for quite a while, so we've been together for.
And is he in show business?
He is. He's a writer and a producer as well, and so that's been really, I think quality time is good for both of us to carve out, as well as that person is very understanding. Whenever someone is deep into their profession, it's good to find that time and also the understanding of what that
Mom
job
and Dad like him?
entails. Yes, yes. I think we're good there. I
But they
think we're good.
probably, well, they're aware that people in show business don't have any real assurance.
Yes, it's feast or famine. I think that's a very good point as well. Feast or, it's like real estate. There's feast or famine.
Yeah, and it's very difficult for parents to think about their daughter marrying someone who is not going to be able necessarily on a
Yes.
continuum to take care of her.
Exactly, and I think too that I'm such a strong, independent person that I think I'll always fend for myself. So I see that my father's passed, but I see that my mother definitely sees now that I'm very strong-willed, and that'll definitely be something I do for myself.
Okay, well, you've got a lot of possibilities. Dreaming of a White Christmas. Now, if you would like to order this CD, you can do that by doing what?
Yes, you can just pop a text message, or you can go ahead and call the number.
Well, let's put the number on the screen, please, Damon, that you can get hold of Catherine Michelle Tanner at this number that is going to go on your screen sometime this year. And it will come on the screen. When there it comes on, right there. And beneath the telephone number, is that the website?
Yes, that's my website where they can learn more about me.
Okay.
And
okay. All right. So if you want the album, and what are the songs that you sing on this?
I sing some really beautiful classics, some songs that we know and love, and I also have 5 new original holiday songs. And the clip is actually one of my original holiday songs that encompasses the season and encompasses winter and kind of how we unfold stories in the wintertime.
Okay. When we invited Catherine to come on the program, I was planning with my associate producer, Lucy Rubley, that we would ask her to sing at least 1 song or 2 songs or however many she wanted to. And then we got the bad news that she's recovering from a sore
Yes.
throat and a cold.
Yes.
So, but she's able to speak. Every once in a while she'll cough, I hope in another direction. However, we do have some video with you singing on it.
Yes.
Okay, and we're going to get that ready, and it is ready now. Okay, tell us what we're going to see coming up.
This was one of my CD release party concerts that I had last year in 2017, and it was a packed house, a beautiful, intimate venue, and it was so great to kind of be there sharing this new music with my audiences. And in fact, one of the people in the audience that day was also a producer for Judy Garland, and he loved the concert, which really warmed my heart. The fact that I really hearkened back to my former Minnesotan. You know, I really loved Frances Gumm, and I loved all of her work. So this CD really beckons those types of old concerts that she'd give. I didn't want it overly produced. I didn't want too much orchestration under it. Just simple piano, the type of CD you'd want to put on when friends are coming over or you're putting up your Christmas tree.
Or you just want to feel the season, and you want
Yes.
to feel the. Okay, let's take a look at. It's about a minute, but we can get an idea of the singing voice of Catherine, a little bit at any rate. Okay, let's see it.
In the deep snow drifts of a Minnesota winter, you can find yourself by getting lost. And all the lakes are cold and the water sits frozen, and somehow it reflects your past. So do you skate on by and let history lie, or are you strong enough to start breaking through when the snow turns blue?
Well, we didn't have the audio in the studio, so I could just about make out the sound, so I'll have to play it again, not now, not on the program,
Sure.
because they had the audio, our viewers have the audio, but we didn't have it in the studio.
Yes.
Okay, and where was that done?
That was done down at Art to Walk On, that beautiful, she gives a lot of concerts, Eileen Hampshire, down at Art to Walk On. And it was a full venue of about 75 people, really nice, intimate performance. We had a lovely night.
Okay, so the fairy godmother wish that you wanted was to be a famous actress?
Yes, I think people ask me this a lot, and it's really about the quality of work. What do you want to be known for? And I said the quality of work that I do. The capacity in which it reaches people is sometimes in your control and sometimes not in your control. But if I can stand up there and take a bow or look at the bookshelf of the work that I've done and feel great about it, then that's a good life.
I have dabbled a bit in every aspect of show business and radio in the early days and television. And writing a script, writing a play, I've tried it a couple of times and just tore the thing up and threw it away, and I was angry at it because it didn't go where I wanted it to go, and I didn't imagine the script, the storyline, and I was very unsuccessful in doing that. How do you put together a play, a story?
That's a good question. I think for me, it always comes down to what is the message at the end of the show. I start from the back end to the front end. And if I could write in one sentence, what is it that I want for this piece to resonate with audiences, then I start to originate the characters around that. In this particular piece that I wrote recently, 19, the history was already made for me, so I had to go back and take bits and pieces. 19 is a play with music. It's kind of covering the suffragette movement, basically from 1865 all the way up until 1920. As a strong independent woman, I think this, looking back at those strong independent women right now, is very invigorating and very important. And when I look back at my grandmother, who wasn't allowed to vote until 1920, she had children older, my mom had children older. It was interesting. I really wanted to harken back to those voices of Elizabeth Cady Stanton, Lucy Stone, Susan B. Anthony, and give a bit more of a linear story to those, 60, 70 years that those women really struggled, succeeded, and then triumphed in getting the right to vote.
What aspect of your many talents are you most proud of? And it's not just a pride thing, but where you had probably your most success.
I have been able to tour across the United States doing a one-woman show called The Amish Project, written by a dear fellow actress, Jessica Dickey. And it is about school shootings.
About what?
It's about school shootings, about going in and giving forgiveness during school shootings. And it takes place in 2006, Nickel Mines, Pennsylvania, in a very small Amish community, a very small school. And I play 6 different characters, including the gunman himself. And I switch characters about 127 times. I have toured all across the U.S., been off Broadway. I was also brought in, this was one of the most important nights of my career. I was brought in as the healing for the 20th anniversary of the Oklahoma City bombing. And when I think of that man who went in and bombed that federal building, and that I was brought in to kind of ignite the healing in that community, it was one of the most powerful performances. I was there for 2 weeks workshopping the show, doing talkbacks. It was truly much more than a theatrical experience. It was really a gift of healing. And when I think of things like that, these types of storytellings, these types of shows, the show runs about 75 minutes, that is really the pinnacle of what I believe art can be. Art can be much more than just coming in, sitting and experiencing something with other people. It can be opening up your heart, just like 19. 19, my show just debuted in New York 2 days ago. I was just there. And we were really, reminiscing of these strengths and sufferings of these women and how they really went through to fight for this moment. That's what art can be. It can be a song, it can be a painting, it can be a ballet. To me, it can be acting. And if you can reach people in a new way, not necessarily therapy, I think therapy is therapy, but if you can reach and enlighten them in such a way where they walk out and realize they're also part of this life experience, then I did my job. That's really what it's all about.
There have been several couples that, particularly Oslo, because they worked together on the whole season. And I haven't kept up with this couple, but you'd know their names if I could remember both their names, but I can't right now. And the question I ask them is, have they thought about where they would be, how they would react if how your fiance, or you call him your fiance?
Just my partner. Yes.
Your partner, okay. How your partner would react if you became very famous and he was not making it at all.
Yes, that anonymity is always interesting, and that shift of power is always interesting. You know, you never know. You never know how the person will
Well, you
react.
know what you plan to do. You don't know if you'll do it.
Exactly. And you also don't know how, you know, is timing gonna play a part in that? Is he ever gonna strike it in a different way, and then I'm sitting in the back? I think that ebb and flow and that pendulum is always interesting. But
Have you talked about that?
We do talk about the notion that we are who we are. We're actually not on social media together. We like to keep our private life private.
Have you been in a show together?
No, he's not an actor at all. Not an actor at all. So it's
Well,
really,
why do you dismiss it?
he's just not in that field. He's not. He's a writer. He's a writer.
I'm sorry?
He's a writer and a producer, so he's never
He's
acted.
not a performer.
No, he's not a performer.
Okay.
He's just a writer.
But he
and
can
producer.
achieve enormous success in his
Absolutely.
writing.
We all can, yes. And so I think that kind of really weighing out that lifetime and making sure that you're carving out a life, not just an artistic life, that you have much more than just that. That's the important thing.
But you're not really competitive.
No.
No, I don't mean by nature. I mean in your chosen
With
profession.
each other.
Yeah.
No. I think that we've got goals for ourselves, but not against each other. Yeah.
Okay. Well, so what's coming up next that people watching us can see or buy?
I have an exciting season. Treefort Productions, which is my small little pop-up company. We host classes at my studio in Westfield Siesta Key Mall inside Somersault. I have a student performance with those students in January, and then we open our theater season. We're going to be having Madagascar, which will be January 13th at 3 p.m.
Here in Sarasota?
Yes, all of the performances are at Art Avenue, which is in Westfield Siesta Key Mall. You can call that number and get your tickets. We open with that show. Then we pop over into March 9th and 10th. We'll be doing 19, which is the new musical that I wrote about the suffragettes. Also, tickets are available by calling that number. And then in the spring, we'll be doing a beautiful cabaret review about film music that we all know and love. From Breakfast at Tiffany's to Casablanca to The Greatest Showman and La La Land.
Is there a phone number? Is that the phone number that's on the
That's it.
screen now? The people. Okay. If you take down that phone number, which is what? It's hard to. The last four digits.
941-544-2276.
22 what?
76.
Okay. 4321. What is that?
4321. I'm not exactly sure what that is.
Okay.
But I do have pictures that are coming up. We're going to be talking about some pictures of my upcoming season. So you'll see a picture of Madagascar.
Oh, do you have these pictures now?
We
for us?
do. Yes.
Okay, let's
You can go
see
ahead
them.
and pop it up.
I don't know if they're ready with them. Here's one.
Great.
Okay. Is
That's,
that you?
That is me. That's from my CD.
It doesn't look like you.
Oh, well, it's me.
Okay. All right, next picture. And what is this? What do we see?
This is one of the stills from the concert that I did last year for Dreaming of a White Christmas. There's one of the album covers for Dreaming of a White Christmas. That's what you can find on Amazon, Spotify, iTunes, and Apple Music. And lastly, this is the picture of our upcoming season with our dates. January 13th, March 9th and March 31st and April 1st. We've got the play Madagascar, a beautiful kind of sexy mystery. We've got 19, the suffragette musical that we'll be doing 3 performances of. And then we have the lovely cabaret.
Well, you got a lot of things going for you,
Yes.
and a lot of areas that you can achieve success and kind of be surprised. Say, I didn't think that would come in that particular vein, that particular talent. But which one would you really prefer if you had your choice?
It always comes down to telling great stories, and that's through acting. It also is a little bit with directing, but it's really telling great stories in any capacity. That's really what it's all about.
Okay. Well, we can wish you the best of luck, and
Thank
you
you.
certainly are aggressive about keeping on
Yes.
and trying out and coming up with new things.
Absolutely.
So it's bound to happen.
It's bound to happen. Yes, I've been very lucky so far.
Okay, we'll replay this if it happens.
Sure. Great.
Okay, just about a minute left, and I want to put that number on the screen again, Damon. Put that on the screen again, please. The number to get in touch. There we go. Okay, because that's probably the easiest thing to do, to call you and
Yes.
ask where you're going to be performing next,
Absolutely.
and how do they get tickets.
Yes.
So there is the number, 544, is that it?
Yep, 544-2276.
Okay, 544-2276, and not a marvelous number, not easy to remember, but if they mark it down, they'll remember it, and we'll have it here for you in case you want it or you didn't copy it down because you don't have a pen or a pencil. We've got 30 seconds left, and all I can do is wish you success.
Thank
Because
you.
I think that's what you really want first and foremost. Are your parents living?
My father has passed away very
Sorry.
unexpectedly, and my mother is still living back up in Minnesota in my hometown. So,
We're out of time.
great.
Just to say bye-bye for now. See you next time.
The time really flew. We bid you adieu from Community. If you want to know why we love it here, so check out Community. Well, it's a who's who, a what's, when, and where show. It's a mover and shakers who care show. Meet your neighbors and friends, each one has a passion. The topics vary from nature to